She held nothing but a simple letter, words etched in shaky handwriting by a blind black girl who the world often ignored. To most, it was just paper and ink. But to the wealthy woman who opened it, each line cut deeper than the last, forcing her to confront truths she had spent a lifetime avoiding. What could possibly be written in those fragile words that brought a woman of privilege to her knees in tears? She had grown used to living in shadows, not because she wanted to, but because blindness had shaped every part of her world. Still, she carried herself with quiet strength. Each morning, she would feel her way around the small apartment, memorize the steps to the bus stop, and rely on the kindness of strangers to cross busy streets. Life wasn't easy, but she found joy in small victories. The warmth of sunlight on her face, the sound of children laughing, the texture of books written in Braille. Yet, behind her steady smile was a reality the world rarely cared to see. Being both blind and black meant she fought battles no one else noticed. Dismissed in stores, ignored in classrooms, overlooked in conversations, she had learned to stay silent, to endure. But silence has its limits, and one letter, just one, would carry the weight of everything she had held inside for years. A letter that would soon fall into the hands of someone who never imagined her life could be shattered by words she didn't write. The letter began as nothing more than an attempt at release. A blind girl pouring her pain onto paper, hoping someone, anyone, might finally hear her. She wrote about the days when children mocked her cane, laughing as she stumbled across sidewalks. She wrote about the bus drivers who sighed impatiently, acting as if her blindness was an inconvenience to their schedules. She wrote about the stores where clerks spoke loudly, slowly, as though she were both blind and incapable of understanding. And she wrote about the quiet cruelty that came not in shouts, but in silence, being ignored, dismissed, erased. Each sentence carried years of bruises that never showed on skin. But she didn't stop there. She revealed the deeper truth, the weight of being both blind and black in a world that judged her twice before ever listening once. Teachers who assumed she wouldn't keep up, employers who never called back, strangers who whispered pity behind her back. It was a life where her voice was never invited, where her value was measured only by the burdens others imagined she placed on them. Still, the letter wasn't just a list of wounds. It was a plea. A plea for someone to see her not as a disability, not as a color, but as a person with dreams as vivid as anyone else's. She wanted to study, to work, to live independently. But every path forward seemed blocked by invisible walls built by prejudice. When the letter reached the hands of the wealthy woman, it wasn't expected. She was used to polished invitations, charity requests, and thank you cards, not raw confessions scrawled in shaky handwriting. At first, she nearly set it aside, dismissing it as just another story meant to tug at her conscience. But then her eyes caught a sentence that stopped her cold. "I am blind, yes, but the darkest part of my world isn't what I cannot see. It's how others refuse to see me." Her breath caught. The words felt like an accusation, a mirror she hadn't asked to look into. With each paragraph, her comfort cracked a little more. The letter wasn't about begging for help. It was about demanding recognition, demanding humanity. And yet, buried near the end was something even more unsettling. A memory so raw, so devastating, that it made her chest tighten. The blind girl described a moment of cruelty so sharp it echoed like a wound that never closed. A moment that would force the wealthy woman to confront not just the girl's world, but her own. Because what came next was not just painful, it was impossible to ignore. The wealthy woman's hands trembled as her eyes moved across the final paragraphs. The blind girl recounted the day she was humiliated in public, when a shopkeeper accused her of faking her blindness just to get pity. Laughter erupted from strangers who stood by, watching as she fumbled with her cane, desperately trying to prove she wasn't lying about who she was. No one stepped in, no one helped. The world simply stood still while cruelty echoed louder than her voice. And then came the line that shattered everything. That day, I wished I was invisible, because being seen only meant being mocked. The wealthy woman's chest tightened. Tears blurred her vision, but she couldn't look away. Every sentence screamed of a reality she had never dared to imagine, where existence itself was treated as a burden. It wasn't just about blindness, it wasn't just about race, it was about a life stripped of dignity, reduced to a spectacle for others to sneer at. The girl's words built like a storm, each one heavier than the last. The teachers who told her not to aim too high, the employers who discarded her applications, the strangers who pitied her but never respected her. And at the heart of it all was a plea she could no longer ignore. If my letter reaches you, please, don't turn away. See me. The room around the woman faded. Her wealth, her comfort, her carefully constructed life, all of it felt meaningless compared to the raw truth written in that letter. She had spent years insulated from pain like this, believing charity dinners and polite donations were enough. But this was different. This wasn't charity. This was a demand for humanity. And as the last words sank in, the woman realized she couldn't stay the same. Not after this. The letter ended, but its echo did not. The wealthy woman folded the fragile paper with shaking hands, knowing her life would never be the same. What she had read wasn't just a testimony, it was a mirror, forcing her to confront her own silence, her own comfort, her own complicity in a world where injustice thrived because people like her chose to look away. For the blind black girl, that letter had been her only weapon, a voice carried through ink, breaking through the barriers that had silenced her for so long. She had no stage, no spotlight, no power. Yet somehow, her words reached into the heart of privilege and broke it open. That was her victory. But this story doesn't belong to just one girl or one woman. It belongs to countless lives shaped by prejudice, to every unseen struggle, to every silent plea that goes unheard until it's too late. The pain in her letter is not unique. It is shared by millions who carry invisible scars of racism and discrimination every single day. And so, the question remains, how many more letters must be written? How many more lives must be dismissed before the world finally listens? Because sometimes the words we ignore are the very ones that could change us.